Hero Club presents Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu.
Welcome to Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, I think episode 39 finally. And I'm your host, Wheelchair21, and joining me tonight is none other than Project RDM.
I'm not there.
Guys, he's really here, and also we'll be joined by Soundout a little bit later in the episode. He's not here right now due to internet issues, but we do promise he'll be here for our discussion this week. However, let's get to the news, because for our lit list this week when it comes to news, we have another Super Sentai release coming from Shout Factory. We have the premiere date for Power Rangers Ninja Super Steel, and we also have the Lupin Ranger versus Patranger cast reveal, and in addition, Power Rangers Shattered Grid cover art. That is for the Boom Studios comics, and then our discussion, which, if I recall, is on how to score music in Tokusatsu. Nevertheless, though, like I said, let's start at the very beginning, which is our newest release from Shout Factory. We are going to be getting QQ Sentai GoGo V, the complete series, set for April. The box art actually looks really impressive. If those of you have not already seen it, you'll see it in the video feed, and it pretty spot on to a lot of the great elements that is featured within QQ Sentai GoGo V. Now, it's the 23rd Sentai series. It aired in 99, ended in 2000, and it was replaced by Time Ranger. There's a total of 50 episodes. It does have, technically, the 3 movies. One is a V Cinema, where they have, like, it's a regular, like, almost Sentai movie, and then 2 Versus movies, which at the time I think were still on direct-to-home video before they actually started getting theatrical runs. Project, thoughts on GoGo V as our next, Shout Factory announcement, which we knew was coming.
Wheels, you might want to explain which the Power Ranger equivalent name for this show is to be.
Oh yeah, true. Because for some people who don't know anything about the Sentai series, it's Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. In this version, though, however, it's about a family of people who are in the rescue field, fire, search and rescue, lifeguards, and they're coming together to fight demons.
It's basically this. It's basically same premise as Lightspeed Rescue, except they're all related, and compared to like in Lightspeed Rescue, where they're all different people, and it's also similar fields of
Yeah, like that's the best way to explain it is it's Family Feud, the Sentai, and villain series. So pretty much like your heroes are all siblings, and your villains are all siblings, led by their evil mother bent on trying to like destroy the Earth. And it's just kind of ironic that Lightspeed Rescue adapted a good portion of this, but completely like tried to edit out a good significant amount of the family aspect, because I don't think it would trend real well in America, because American families these days, or at least even in the 90s, normally didn't have like 5 freaking kids. But Project, your thoughts on GoGo V, or have you seen it? Have you not seen all of it? Have you seen the movies?
I've seen GoGo V. I've seen Lightspeed Rescue, so I am actually excited for this release because I actually preferred GoGo V. Do we know how much the price for this thing in US or
the price is usually roughly at retail. It starts about like $48 to $60, but by the time it actually does release, the price usually gets slashed to about $38 to still about $44.99. So I'm just going by
if there's any sales holiday.
Yeah, and by the holiday season it should be even cheaper, like $25. Because I'm expecting that we'll get for fall or winter 2018 is obviously Time Ranger. I doubt we're gonna get Time Ranger by summer and Gal Ranger by winter. I don't think we're gonna get 3 full Sentai series in 1 year. If we did, though, that would be amazing, since Time Ranger and Gal Ranger are actually 2 of my all-time favorites. I still like GoGo V, but it's not one of my, up there seasons or series, should I say.
It had a goddamn train Megazord, Wheels.
I know, it's a really awesome train Megazord, because it's one of my favorites. I remember how, like, I had to hide one in one of the stores that I went to back in the day called Ames, just so I could get one on Labor Day when they had, like, this weird, like, 50% off on it's like that was the weird thing. There were stores that would do, like, these weird 50% off sales on specific toys on, like, Labor Day. As soon as they came out, they were like, oh, we just got this toy in. Come to our store. Get it for, like, 50% off. So I found it, say, Saturday. I hid it in the store, went back Monday, and picked it up for 50% off. But nevertheless,
one of those people.
Yeah, I was one of those guys. I was one of those guys as a kid. So, anyways, let's move on to actual Power Rangers news because the Neo Saban Power Rangers YouTube channel actually updated it with the first full-on commercial for our newest season. Even though it's not really a new season, it's the part 2 of Power Rangers Ninja Steel, titled Ninja Super Steel or Super Ninja Steel. We don't really know what the hell's going on. Like, they keep changing the name on us with this, and it's called
Come on
Echoes
now,
of Evil.
they always add super. Come on.
But they always place super in the most weird places, like either it's in front or after the first word. But we're going to be getting it on January 27th, which should be next weekend, I believe. And honestly, I'm not too eager for this just yet. What's your thoughts on, the fact that we're getting Super Ninja Steel
Wheelz.
next week?
2 words. Christy Ann.
Yeah,
That's
like
it.
that's the only thing I'm hoping to see. A lot of Christy Ann. I mean, I know we're getting Sledge again from, Dino Charge, but I don't know when that episode's gonna happen or
Wait,
what
he's
the hell's going
alive?
on.
Oh yeah, he's alive.
Yeah, he's alive. Remember the SDCC trailer for this season? This half? It was like, hey, he's back. Wooga wooga wooga. And we're like, oh, shit, what up? So, here's the other thing we gotta talk about, and I'm gonna say this right now. The Lupin Ranger and the Patranger news, even though I wanted to go in order of how the news broke, I'm gonna use that for the very end of this, discussion. So we're gonna look at the Shattered Grid covers. We have 5 total covers in all. One that is Time Ranger, I should say Time Force Pink. One that's one of the Alien Rangers. One that's all of the Red Rangers. A team led by Gold Ranger with SPD Pink, In Space Blue, MMPR Yellow, and RPM Red. And then there's another one with, I believe, Time Force Pink, Dino Charge Cyan, RPM Black, In Space Yellow, Gold Ranger, Pink Ranger, Time Force Pink, Shinken Red, or I should say Samurai Red, Doggy Kruger, and Lord Drakon, with the Time Force Megazord and the actual original Megazord on these covers. And from what we know is Shattered Grid is going to be like this huge
It's a multi-part series.
Series.
In the current the current Boom Studios run of Power Rangers.
And pretty much it's going to be that a crap ton of things are happening where the Morphin Grid is supposedly destroyed. It's going to bring the Dino Charge team, the RPM team, Time Force, Ninja Steel, Dino Thunder, and even more together.
I believe it circles around Time Force Pink showing up in the current day. Is that what it is with current day Mighty Morphin?
Yeah, like
Jen, and she shows up
and like has to fix the time and the Morphin Grid.
Hey man, the thing is, those covers, has it been confirmed? Are they variants or are they the covers for each issue during the thing? I have a feeling they're variants.
That I keep getting told that they're actual variants and not the issue covers. Everyone keeps saying they're actually different issue covers. I'm seeing on the bottom of the art page that it shows that majority of them are the variants for the annual and the regular artwork, because it says issue 26, annual 1. So yeah, they're variant covers, all 5 of these.
Oh man, that's like $10 a book in here in Canada. Damn it.
Like, I can tell you this right now, the 3 covers I look forward to the most actually are the Alien Ranger ones, all the red ones, and the one that is the actual like glass breaking. That reminds me of Kamen Rider Ryuki.
Or stick in the middle of it. Yeah, that's the
it's the one with actual Gold Ranger in the middle of like the team of In Space Blue, SPD Pink, MMPR Yellow, and then RPM Red, and like there's glass falling around as if it's like the Ryuki opening. Like, I would probably get the Time Force one where it's like her coming out of a time void.
Or Wheels, you know why? Because Aaron Cahill does con circuits. I think she does the con circuit now.
Yeah, like honestly, if I can get all of these issues, I would do that and bring them to PMC, because get the red one signed by all the Reds, get the pink one signed by Aaron Cahill. Done. There you go. Merry
I like
the
one with her and what's it called? Like the one with her going to the time vortex. All the Reds are pretty sweet. I'm not digging the one with Drakon though. I don't know why.
The one with Drakon doesn't look that great. Like, I like the Gold Ranger one because Gold Ranger is one of my more favorite Rangers, and it also has RPM Red, who I'm not a fan of him as a Ranger, but I'm a fan of Goanger, so I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. And the Ryuki vibe. Look at that, like, lash shatter. Doesn't it remind you of Ryuki?
Let me look at the site I go to for my inaccurate news. Wait, yeah, actually, I get it. I see it. Are you sure that's glass? It is glass. Okay, cool. I dig it.
Yeah, doesn't it remind you of the Ryuki opening? When the mirror breaks?
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
I know, right? So like I'm looking forward to this event. It just sucks that I don't really have, I think, any comic book stores around. I think like the closest one is Middletown. I
See
think.
mine. See the mine. I go to Tasmanian Comics. Yeah, go to their store. It's awesome.
But you live in a like actual big viable city, in Vancouver.
I know, but still, I'm sending. I'm promoting my goddamn store. Okay, they follow me on Instagram now.
They follow me on Instagram. I'm guessing you
Well,
suggested them to.
of course, they follow both Hero Club and my personal Instagram. This is great. If you guys
Yeah.
if you are in Vancouver
Yeah.
or in my neck of the woods and you go to Tasmanian Comics, tell them Richard sent you.
Actually, probably say Richard Project RDM or Project One, and you'll probably then get maybe something. All right, so
Either
now
way,
let's go on to that main event, right? Those Lupin and those Patos, those guys, those new guys on the block.
The 45 episode versus movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Cause for Kaito Sentai Lupin Ranger versus Keisatsu Sentai Patranger, we finally got the cast. Now the thing about this is we've already known what the plot of the series is, where the Lupin Rangers and the actual Pat Rangers are going to be fighting over the Lupin collection, and whoever kind of controls this collection can control the world. However, the Pat Rangers think the Lupin Rangers are completely evil when they're more of like chaotic good, and they're actually trying to fight the Gangler, another crime organization that is actually wanting them for evil purposes. Now, a lot of these translations come from various people on Twitter, like Special Form 12, Evil Space Whale, and our good friend Proto Man V89. And the Lupin Ranger cast is actually Lupin Red Kairi Yano, who is played by, or I should say, yeah, who is portrayed by Ito Isashi. He's said to be kind of untrustworthy, and he isn't good at making really any decisions. Whereas Lupin Blue his name is Toma Yomachi, and he's played by Hama Shogo. The character is a gentleman who at times gets lost in the battles against the Gangler. Gangler is their actual name right now. That's how a lot of people are translating it to romanization. Lupin Yellow is Yumika Hayakima. Oh no, it's Haikimi. We actually forgot the I, and I never noticed that till now. She's played by Kudo Haku. Why the hell did I say that wrong?
Kudo Haruka.
Kudo Haruka. I don't know why I screwed up that name. And yet I have a song on my playlist, Haruka Kanta from Bleach. She's just a cute girl with a strong appearance. Now, in our photo, they kind of look a little bit fabulous and dashing in their weird Lupin-esque, like, masquerade wardrobe.
Man.
Like,
Okay.
it's
I love their outfits. It's cool. Dapper. They're very dapper.
I feel, yeah, that's what I was saying about Red. Like, Red looked very, what's the best word to say for him?
Dapper, man.
Yeah,
dapper?
probably. He looked quaint. He kind of looks like somewhere out of left field. Like they keep some of the earlier translations of his character profile says that he actually is a guy that you wouldn't expect to be a thief. I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, no, you stand out in the crowd with your bright ass red jacket like Hugh Hefner, man. Like, nah, you stand the fuck out. And then we got the Pat Rangers. We have Pataran Ichigo, which is Kichiro Asuka. He is played by Yuki Kosei. He is a serious guy on the job, detests the Gangler and the Lupin Rangers, trying to bring the crime rate down to zero. We have Pataran Nigo, Sakuya Hikawa, who is played by Yokoyama Ryu. Rio. Good-natured, although he can be easily deceived. He's considered the perfect sharpshooter. Pataran Sango, who is pretty much everyone's waifu at this point. Her name is Tsukasa Myojin. Her actress's actual name is Okuyama Kazusa. I always screw up that name.
Man.
She cares for others around her and is indifferent against the Lupin Rangers. She's kind of referred to as the little sister character.
Or probably the most logical of the group.
Probably. And then we actually have a trailer that actually reveals the in-show mecha suits for Lupin Kaiser, Pat Kaiser. We also know that the Lupin Rangers will have a butler called Kogure, played by Yoichi Hotaru. He is a descendant of Arsene Lupin himself. And the Pat Rangers commander is called the Hilltop Commissioner, played by Japanese comedian Ike Nawala. And the Pat Rangers also have a weird robot called Jim Carter, voiced by Rei Kugamiya. And the funny thing about it is, a lot of people keep calling this robot Jim Kata. Yes. So, Product, what's your thoughts on the Patrangers and their sidekicks?
So before I answer your question, whose side are you on, Wheels?
For the actual suits when transformed, the Lupin Rangers. As for the actual actors, like the ones that look like they actually fit the roles of like playing
Wheels,
characters, it's the
you're only,
Patrangers.
you're only siding with the Patriots because of the new waifu, okay? Your silence is all the answer I need.
Sorry, no, my microphone got unplugged. What I was
You're
saying is,
fucking
no, it actually did get unplugged. But what I was trying to say is that the Patrangers, I like them. Like I feel like they fit the role better, other than the fact that it has new waifu material. However, like if you're actually living in Japan or in the Asias, supposedly actually Yellow is waifu over there because she's like a huge actual like idol. I think she was a voice for one of the characters in Love Live. Ironically enough, that thing that Arisa Kayomi is in, and Okada's current girlfriend a part of.
Cool.
So yeah, so supposedly she's a big deal over there, where most Western fans are completely into, Pink.
Hey man, I just love the Lupin Ranger suit. They got capes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I love the suits. I'm not really a fan of the actors until I see them perform and show. Like I don't feel like they fit like
Characters they play. They don't seem flamboyant enough, I guess.
No,
I
think
Lupin.
No,
if they're what's it called, a Lupin. Fucking, they have to be fucking flashy.
like I feel like the problem is like they feel a little too flamboyant-y to portray the role.
I don't think they're not flamboyant enough.
I don't know, like when you see characters sometimes, like you either think, oh, they don't fit this role, they don't fit this character until you see them in action.
But we have to watch the show.
Like,
first.
yeah,
We have to get 6 episodes.
Yeah, because like watching the trailer, I really actually started to like the Patrangers more from the trailer than I was liking the Lupin Rangers, and I don't know why. And don't forget though the crazy diversity in this series, since Hilltop Commissioner is a minority. Everyone's just losing their shit over this.
Hey man, the fact that his name is Hilltop Commissioner, it's great.
Not gonna lie, when you hear a name like Hilltop Commissioner, you think like a really, really like white like guy at a 5-star hotel that's like almost in a parody level of freaking Tim Curry's character in Home Alone 2.
But at the mechas, I'm pretty sure I like the Pat Rangers mecha because you know what? It's fucking Decorobo. Look at it.
I actually don't like Pat Kaiser. I like Lupin Kaiser more.
I gotta get another Lupin Kaiser, and then I'm actually looking at the trailer, like the little trailer clip right now to see. But yeah, I'm just digging the police robot.
All right,
but
then.
Again,
so right now we both agree that literally, with what we got right now, we both agree that like we have to really wait to see the show in action to see what side are we really on, and who we actually like when it comes to characters. Because right now, from the faces, it's kind of hard to just assume,
Well, I like the suits for the Lupin Rangers, and I like the mecha for the Pat Rangers, but we'll see how it goes. Here's a prediction. I'm gonna say it right now. We're gonna find out Lupin Red and Pater and Ichigo, they're brothers.
I have a bad feeling like that's gonna be like a plot twist, like brothers separated at birth.
Yeah, like the butler knows it or doesn't figures it out.
No. Here's the thing that I'm afraid is really gonna happen is that Kagure isn't a descendant of Lupin. He actually is Lupin.
Ooh, you're gonna do the what's it called? Like the fucking Aquarion thing? Is Lupin.
Like, I have a bad feeling that's gonna happen, because, like, allegedly when you have these relics that look like just a bunch of old props from other Sentai series, just retooled for the modern age to be, like, weird weapons, like, items of mass destruction or whatever, I feel like they gave him, like, a long life, so it's just really him posing as a butler. Because, like, why would the descendant of Lupin choose to become a goddamn butler? It makes no goddamn sense.
Wheels, I'm gonna call it now. Wait, who plays the butler?
A man known as Yoichi Hotaru. I don't know much about his career, whereas I know a little bit about, Ike Nawala? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Nawala.
Nawala, yeah.
Or Nala, I don't know. Sometimes the W could be silent. But I have a prediction also. There's a 6th Ranger somewhere. It's either going to be Kogure or the Hilltop Commissioner. They will transform.
This is the thing that's actually going on right now, is that it's confirmed that allegedly either each group is going to get their own additional is either going to get a 4th member, or they're going to pull out of their ass another team of 3. And if they do pull out a team of 3, fans are begging it to be of team of trains, so you can have train, planes, and automobiles.
Oh God.
That's
You know what?
legitimately what people are hoping for.
That's interesting, but I hope not. I hope not. That's weird.
Here's the funny thing, though. When I looked up the actual actor for the Butler, guess who's showed up first in the search engine?
Who?
The voice of Jim Carter.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and from what I understand, their filmography is very interesting. Like, Rei Kugimiya is actually a chick. She played Tia in Zatch Bell, which is actually getting its movies released on Blu-ray in North America. She was in Bleach as Karin Kurosaki and Nemu Kurosuchi. So Karin Kurosaki is what his younger sister, right? Or is she the older? Is she the middle child?
Mm-hmm.
Which child was Karin again of the Kurosaki family project? Do you remember this better than I do?
Karine, what are the sisters again? Karine and
The other sister, I can't remember. I think Karin is the middle child. So yeah, no, she's the
she's the tomboy.
yeah. Okay, so we do know her filmography. It's just Nana Trinity from Double O. Okay, so yeah, I know a lot of her characters. Alphonse Alric in Full Metal Alchemist. So yeah, okay, we've seen her do other animus before. So I think this is her first time in Tokusatsu, but I could be wrong. But then again, that's a good thing called freaking Wikipedia and IMDb's for. Okay, she has one other appearance project, and it is in Ju-Oja Returns. And she was the female rhinoceros.
Cool.
So she's now, as everyone likes to call it, Jim Kata and Lillian the rhinoceros. All right. So, anyways, yeah, we're looking forward to this new Sentai series and hope it doesn't go to shit. Anyways, let's move on to our goddamn discussion of the week. And now for this week's discussion, we are going to be talking about the music of Tokusatsu, specifically the scores, the background tracks, whatever you want to call them. Not insert songs, just freaking the music that you always hear, whether they just be walking, whether they be talking, whether they be fighting, or whether there's an ominous thing gonna happen. And I apologize for the slight screw up of saying ominous, but nevertheless, we're gonna be just talking about random stuff like that. And me, Soundout, and Project here are hopefully going to talk about how some of these guys have done some of our favorite animes, or probably done video games that we've played all throughout our lives. Because when you look back at just several of these names, you're shocked at how well their filmography expands. So, Soundout, you start us off with music, since this was something that you've wanted to do, I think, for a long-ass time since we brought it up a few episodes ago.
I think mostly because I just love music in general. It's one of my passions where I always played music in high school and such. I was never really good at it, but I just love listening to music and analyzing it. And so it's kind of this is why I kind of wanted to do this. So where should I start? Should I just pick a score I like and then we'll talk about it?
Maybe pick a score, maybe pick a composer, whichever you want. I don't really give a damn because we got
pick a
time to fill.
composer because he's done a lot of music for stuff that we like, or at least stuff that I really like. Let's start off with Shunsuke Kikuchi.
It's funny. I think he's one of the few guys I did not put on my list.
I figured you wouldn't. He was the composer for many of the Showa era Kamen Rider series, as that would be actually every Showa era Kamen Rider series from the original through Super 1. And then, of course, he was the composer on Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z for its original Japanese release.
It's funny because I actually have the second Dragon Ball composer. Even though I like the Dragon Ball composer, I've not heard enough of his Showa Rider music to get a full grasp of, his music. But I pretty much should like him and enjoy him. I mean, Dragon Ball's great. Dragon Ball's awesome. His Dragon Ball Z score, I'm a little indifferent to.
I really like it, and maybe just because of how it kind of relates to the scenes very well. Shunsuke Kikuchi's done a great job of composing music that knows when to shut up and be quiet. There's a lot of the times when he composes something, he uses very strong themes, kind of like John Williams uses very strong themes, But unlike John Williams, who will score an episode or a movie or something from the very start to the very end and leave like no silent breaks in between, Kikuchi knows when to just turn the music off and let the scene play out. He does it very well in Dragon Ball, and he does it very well in Showa Kamen Rider. I think it's part of the reason why people say Showa Kamen Rider is boring, because there's no music playing in a lot of scenes. But Kikuchi kind of knows the difference of overplaying music and just letting silence happen. There's a lot of scenes where there's some really freaky stuff happening with monsters. He'll either put in a kind of weird, twisted melodic score to a scene to just kind of make it seem weird and creepy. And then sometimes when the visuals just tell the story itself, he just doesn't have music at all, which kind of gives it the silent, kind of really creepy monster in the dark vibe.
Do you know what's a funny thing when you speak about that? Is that I'm used to his composition for films made by Daiei, which is now Kawakata. So that means like the Gamera films and such. So So like I know what you're talking about, like when you refer to like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, of the sense of silence, the sense of he doesn't do like, you know, like as everyone like in America, the Faulkner soundtrack for Z. Like, it's weird. I love Dragon Ball, I think, because it's more of an upbeat, like comedic show with action. So his music really knows how to bring out that element of like pluck, courage, and darkness. But with Z, there's a lot of silence in Z because of those tense moments that it just feels even more eerie than what it really should be, of being like an upbeat fighting show.
I love the one thing I really particularly love about silence is when, especially in the early days, when Goku would make a spirit bomb, he would like call upon the like, you know, creatures of the earth, and it'd be like the flowers, and then it's off, and it's just silent, and then it builds up as it goes to trees and plants and animals. It's like there's more activity in those life forms. The music builds up with it.
Because like it's funny. I don't know how I echoed there, but that was weird. But the thing that I find really interesting is, like you say, like he's done like the Gamera like Showa films. He's done Getter Robo G. He did the original Hurricane Polymer Jumborg Ace, and also the Message from Space TV series. So honestly, he wasn't just a guy owned by like Toei, but like it seemed like he was really faithful with working with Ishinomori or certain like directors or composers, seeing that like he did like, you know, a lot of stuff executively between like Daiei and Toei. It seems like, you know, he was like either, you know, someone had to be, you know, paying him good money from both of those studios to have been a part of like, you know, stuff that Western people know, you know what I'm saying? Because there's certain things under his filmography where either you're a diehard Toku fan that either knows of him, or maybe a diehard mecha fan, but to the casual audience of North America, you're only going to know him for his representation in Dragon Ball and Gamera. I feel like you're probably not going to even know about Kamen Rider unless you're, you know, diehards like us.
And then even if you know about Kamen Rider, if you're a diehard person that's watching Showa, you know his music. But other than that, you're probably not going to know like that it was Shunsuke Kikuchi composing the score. You basically, it's really hard to find out the composers and remember composer names unless you're really, really invested.
Like, this is a funny thing. Since I've seen Showa writers, but I don't like have a good memory of having seen them, I don't really place the score to those scenes. However, when I've seen other, like, a few, like I say, random shows or productions that Kikuchi does, I've noticed it was him, because one time I was watching this movie on Turner Classic Movies called Goke Body Snatcher from Hell, and I immediately said, this sounds very Dragon Ball-like. So I turn on, you know, Wikipedia, I check the film, I check the composer, lo and behold, you know, composer of Dragon Ball. And, you know, immediately I should have remembered the Showa writers when I checked up his filmography. But the thing was funny about it was when the film ended, that's when, I can't think of his name. The guy who's the current host of TCM came out and even stated, "Oh yeah, if you're, you know, a huge anime fan, you probably recognize he's the guy who scored Dragon Ball." And I was like, I knew it. But it's one of those things, because like when it comes to Showa, I'm gonna pass it over to Project. Like, do you often remember the scores, or is it just that it's been so long for you since, you know, you're one of those 80s 80s Filipino kid, so it's like you probably don't remember that stuff unless you rewatched it.
I'm old as shit, so I don't remember half the stuff you guys are talking about. Plus, I didn't even know it was on recording today.
It's a lie, people. That is a lie. He knew this was a recording.
Wheels, you told me it was supposed to be like cake, and you lied. There's no cake.
I never mentioned
was a
cake.
lie.
The cake is always a lie. You should know this by now.
You lied to me.
You
know
think
what,
Wheelchair can bake?
Actually, I can. He knows this.
Well, Soundout, he said you could bake, so he said you were gonna make the cake, so he threw you under the bus.
Wait. So me and Wheelchair have to make a cake at PMC.
How are we gonna make? You know what? We'll figure this out when we get there.
Because it owes me a sandwich, so yeah.
You owe me an apple pie.
And I'm usually broke, so I'll probably be eating sandwiches only.
Well, anyway, speaking of the score, I don't know, man. Like, I don't remember very much. Like, I rewatched Five Man and realized I'm like, wow, the score for the Sentai is fucking repetitive. I remembered as the years went by, especially the Heisei era, the musical score got better. So
I think it's just a general shift in like TV production scores in general. And a lot of the times too is that companies would be like, oh, well, how can we sell a soundtrack? And it's like, well, for a Kamen Rider show, there's a limited soundtrack because it has to be able to fit on one vinyl. And so it's like you get what fits on one vinyl. Nowadays we can put out like a 9 CD box set and cover everything, maybe, and still stuff gets left out. So I think that's kind of like the difference there.
Well, do we own any soundtracks from any Toku?
I know me and Soundout own various ones. He owns the most of them all by, ways.
I have every Rider soundtrack, and I'm still missing a few Sentai soundtracks.
Like, by the end of this episode, there'll be a good composition of what Soundout will be sending me than me sending the project, probably.
Actually, wait, I did get all the Sentai soundtracks. I just don't have them all loaded in iTunes yet, because it takes.
Hey man, that stuff went on iTunes. I bought them.
Yeah, they put up the soundtracks for like the openings and endings, which was astonishing when they finally did do that.
Oh yeah, that was kind of surprising. Recently, the Heisei Generation's final soundtrack appeared on US iTunes.
Yeah, people lost their shit today when I saw that, like on one of the Facebook groups.
Yeah, I bought part of it last week, but yeah.
Now, this is something funny that I want to bring up, because since Soundout already brought up Dragon Ball's guy who did the score, this is the funny thing. Koei Tanaka, who's best known for scoring actually G Gundam and 08th MS Team, was one of the guys who's co-scored some of the soundtracks for Dragon Ball. I think he scored a few of the movies for not just Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball Z. But he was actually one of the co-composers for Metalder. And the funny thing about this is that, like, for the longest time, I thought he actually had scored the entire series. And then I went and double-checked one of my other favorite composers and found out they were working together was Seiji Yokohama, who actually had died, I think, earlier last year, that they both did the work on Metalder. Now, the reason why I had to go and do this research was because if he was the guy who scored Metalder, that meant he was also the guy who scored Saint Seiya, and that's when I realized there were two guys working on this project. And what I found really interesting with this, development was the fact that when you listen to the Metalder soundtrack, you can hear a lot of that old school, like, 80s anime style blend. I mean, Metalder was made in the 80s, yes, but I mean, you can just feel that sense of, like, the anime aura about it, with, like, Captain Harlock, Dairuger 15, Vehicle Voltron, and the original Saint Seiya from that composition. And you can somewhat hear a bit of the Koei Tanaka style that you hear with G Gundam in the 90s and whatever parts of Dragon Ball he did. And it's actually really interesting because I think that's actually one of the reasons why years later when Seiji Yokohama got to work on another Toku, I actually enjoyed the score and composition amazingly, which was O-Ranger. O-Ranger, like as Soundout says, is not one of the best Sentais. It's probably one of the weaker ones. But I don't know why, but I think I enjoyed it because it was just so different. It's kind of like why I also have a weird love-hate relationship with Five Man, as Project brought up talking about its weird style of score, is because it's just one weird show.
Because there's like Five Man as a show was kind of different in a lot of ways and a lot of the things it did. And its score kind of reflects that because it used a lot, like, for being a show in like 1990, it still had like some of that 80s vibe while it's still was like transitioning into the 90s. And I love some of the music.
Don't forget
Like
though,
when they
Japan.
summoned the
Continue.
super dimensional sword, like that piece of music was always really cool, and like the Earth Cannon music was cool. And it's just like they're really short, but they're like little quick beats that just feel good.
Like, here's the funny thing I was gonna say about like Five-Man Score, since Project already like kind of brought the tipping point here, is that you can sense the 80s in it because don't forget, a lot of the stuff with the 80s rolled over into Sentai's early 90s up until I want to say like they didn't get rid of the 80s in Sentai until like O Ranger and on. Like they didn't finally embrace the 90s until O Ranger and Car Ranger. Like all of those shows still have a really huge 80s vibe about them, even if they have like say the crazy suits that the Jew Rangers wore, or the Die Rangers, like, you know, kind of looking like a bunch of like, well, not like, it's weird because the Die Rangers all wore like leather or really like, you know, modern like high end clothes you would wear in the 80s, and then you just go to Kaku Ranger and they just look like a street gang.
I think that was the whole idea because two of them did start out as biker gang members.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic though when you think about it. Like they literally look like a bunch of like gangsters. Like they're like, oh hey, give me your money.
There was Ninja Black with his tank top, which was like the most unusual thing to see in a Japanese series.
Which part, the tank top or King Kosugi?
Both. Mostly tank top.
Mostly tank tops. We don't get them tank tops up in here.
I think it's like one of two tank tops in Sentai, the other being like Tokyo Rokugo, which later turned into a whole other character for the tank top. So
yeah, the tank top became a monster. Fun fact for those of you who've never seen Tokyo Uger, tank top is a monster.
Was that his friend?
Yeah, it was like his best friend.
His best friend, Tank Top Shadow, which may also be his lover, considering he's always stuck to his chest.
Let's not go that far. Let's leave that for.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we start exploring being you know connected to people as their shirts, me and Project are gonna start making references to certain, you know, ab queens.
Wheelchair, we know you want to be Tank Top Shadow, but you can't.
Can't.
I know. Be great though.
I have to warn her so she can file a restraining order. And
listen, my name's not Visible Ninja. I'm not gonna create any, you know, vile acts of crime.
You say that now.
You say that now.
Say that now.
So what's another like composition and score we should actually talk about? Because like there's one that I know we all want to talk about, but we're probably saving that guy for last. I'm pretty sure
Kashima.
Which one?
The Amazons guy.
Which Amazons?
Like Amazons.
Amazons, yeah.
Zons.
It's funny because I watched Amazons, but yet like I just found the score all right. Like I like the
score
opening and ending.
Makes me his score is unsettling for a couple reasons.
All right, tell us about it.
All right, reason one, a lot of his music is really creepy, and that's unsettling. But reason number two, a lot of it's really peppy, upbeat, and has samba beats, and that's also unsettling considering the subject matter of the series.
Yeah, this is actually getting really weird. You know what's weirder though? Because like I'm looking up his filmography now, right? And it's like he did Blue Gender, which I love the hell out of that anime, and now it makes more sense why like his music just like for me is like, oh, I've heard this all before. Yeah, because you watch freaking Blue Gender. I'm like, oh,
someday.
That's right, Wheels. That's why I get it. Also, I watched the anime Monster, and that is probably really effing good. So I do insist that you should check it out when you get the chance. Soundout. Also watch Monster if you like horror and stuff.
I really love J-horror, so
I know Project probably knows of this guy since he did do Kabuto.
Yay.
Yay.
Sad, it's just like
I like that one track from Kabuto called Kabuto.
Is it the one that plays in the finale when he shows up with that rose?
I think so. There's also that wonderful Ave Maria cover that, for some reason, I don't know how you can have Ave Maria sound like it's in broken English, but they did it.
Hey, you know what's a good soundtrack? Like a good, what's it called? Double. Surprisingly.
Here's
amazing.
Here's the funny thing, and I literally like was hysterical when I did the research on who scored Double. It was Koto Nakagawa, and when I saw which Sentais he did, and then saw which freaking like writers he did, I was sitting there going, "My God, this man's a genius."
I was gonna mention him if you didn't mention him because
No.
he's amazing.
No, because I had him because think Soundout. Why? Yow! P.A.
Oh yeah.
Gow! Because he did Gal Ranger, he did Bokenger, he did Decade, he did Double, he did Wizard and Drive, and he did O's too. But like, I actually put asterisks against the ones that like I actually did like the composing he did, because like Gal Ranger's my first introduction to the guy, I think. And
Nakagawa was amazing.
I know, like his Gal Ranger's amazing. Like you and me love that one track. Which is the one track we love the hell out of it? It's the one where
Something
like they're
Spirit
actually.
of the Earth.
Yeah, I think it's that one where it's like dun 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 dun, bow, bow, now, now. You know, like it has that beat, it has that riff to it, and it's probably one of my all-time favorite tracks that plays during Gal Ranger. Like it's one of the best, aside from the one that makes everyone feel emo and depressed. You know which one, Soundout?
Oh, good old Roki.
Yeah, the Roki one. Like this is one where like if you don't know what we're talking about, download these soundtracks and start listening to the songs as we're talking about them, so you can feel depressed like we are now too.
I need a flute. I need to learn how to play flute just so I can play that.
It's not even really a flute. It's more like just whistling. It's like whistling on top of a flute, on top of a ham sandwich, and you're just dead.
How about we talk about the fact that you also get that feeling when you listen to the Tokuger soundtrack and you get to the harmonica track.
Yeah, there's like a lot of death and destruction with that one.
Yeah, harmonicas.
Harmonicas, they're meant to fuck you up. And this is the funny thing that I wanted to talk about was like with Decade though. This guy also was like, hey, if my music isn't good enough, let's go use stock music that everyone can use, like Fightin' the Man, Millions
Ryuki
Millions
did
or
the
whatever.
same thing.
Yeah, Ryuki does do it quite a bit, but Ryuki tries to sneak in quite a bit of classical music too when they do
O's
that
did
shit.
it as well.
Yeah,
With
O's
classical music.
Yeah, O's also snuck in quite a bit of classical, but like Decade was really unique from this guy too, because like he was like, if I can't make my own music, let me borrow music that fits my style, and he would make it blend where you would think he completely did it himself, you know. But that also might, yeah, I was gonna say, but that also might be Shuhei Narasu co-composing with him. That was the reason why it came out that way.
Well, didn't
Yeah,
Shuhei
also
do a bunch of mixes?
Gaim did the stock music thing too.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Naruse has been the co-composer for quite a few series, all the way from Deno to Gaim, and he hasn't really composed anything really since then.
Yep.
But I think that's maybe because, like, Toei's like, well, we kind of don't need to do it now, since, as you said a couple of weeks ago, they're very focused on using the gimmick sound effects over top of just insert tracks, or
They
barely
are
any music
because
at all.
basically at this point, like it used to be where throughout the release of a series, we would get we'd get like a soundtrack every few months that had like new score on it. And then there would be the giant CD box at the end of the year. But starting with Drive, it's just been jump into the giant CD box at the end of the year.
But maybe that's a good thing now that we're just getting one set at the end rather than having to get small compilations and reissues of tracks.
But that's the thing too, is that like the part of the problem with it is that with like Sentai we're still getting it regularly because the Sentai soundtracks are still really good. And I have a hard time. It's like sometimes when I'm like having trouble getting into a show, I like to listen to the music to kind of get me hyped up about it. But without those like consistent releases, I've had nothing to hype up about, especially since I don't collect the toys. So it's just kind of like with X8, I wasn't like super hyped on X8 because there just wasn't much there.
It's funny too, because like there's a few tracks in X8 I've already put onto my my portable iPod, which I
but it
use
was
to play in my car
like
and shit.
we didn't get any of that music till like a month after the show was over.
I know, but there's like a lot of music. Like I wouldn't say a lot, like, but there's like significantly a good portion of that music I already enjoy. Like there's the level, there's the level 99. There's the remix of the insert song sung by the Kamen Rider Girls that played when Poppy kills herself like 47 times, including the final time.
But the kind of the end point is that I wish I had been able to listen to it as it progressed because I think I would appreciate the soundtrack more.
Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from because there are
Because like the
tracks that
X8
I just skip
soundtrack
over.
is like 8-bit video game based, which is great. Like I love that feel. But the problem is because of all the sound effects coming out of that belt, the soundtrack's just white noise. You can't hear any of it for the most part while you're watching the show.
He's got a
Yeah,
point.
yeah, you got a good point there because like
Oh, it's not only the belt sound effects, but also the hit sounds and all that extra like stuff they ate to be like, it's a video game. So we added like obnoxious hit noises and
yeah, because
effects.
you know what's funny? I went and rewatched an episode where they actually played what you call it, Wish in the Dark, right? And Wish in the Dark, you could barely hear it when it first debuted because they were henching over top of the song. So you completely skip out the entire part of Deep Inside. Dun-dun-dun. You like they skipped over the intro of the song because all you heard was Mighty Action, Mighty Kick, da 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 axe. And then it just goes right to like the bridge, and you're like, what song am I even listening to? And then all of a sudden, 5 seconds later, you just hear dun 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 dun. I'm like, oh, it's Wish in the Dark, because I was rewatching episodes, and I was like, wow, they really either one didn't want the audience to hear the full lyrics of the song, two make it so hard that even people subbing it couldn't figure it out, because when you translate that song, it spoils everything they're going to do with Gem's character and make him a good guy.
Oh yeah, totally.
If you know the lyrics to the song, it will spoil the fact, and it's a good thing they
Probably
only
the
played
reason why that song didn't get released in a single or anything until after the show was over.
Yeah, because like here's the thing, the first half of the song only alludes to the evil shit he's done, where the last half of the song is like his redemption story, and you're like, this is pretty ingenious though. That was probably the smartest thing I will say on their part, was don't give us that song sooner, or it would have spoiled, I think, a lot of the end game. That song alone, like dictated the story of Don Carotho.
Absolutely.
It was kind of ironic how like one song was written and composed just to fit his entire character arc, which is kind of rare, especially with character songs, because character songs in Sentai, or should I say even Rider, have done really interesting things where the songs either feature like maybe their catchphrases or like their gimmicks or their personality, but never the character's progression and evolution. Like Action Zero. Action Zero is just to talk about like how badass like Yuto thinks he is, while Deneb's just like playing along with him.
Mm-hmm.
Or like how Double Action was just change a few words to fit how Ryotaro's plays off of that Imagine. Or like how Double Action Gao is just to explain how badass, Hiroyuki Watanabe is, because Hiroyuki Watanabe is the hype, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Or like that like one Garo song that he sung by himself, where it was just him being badass, whatever. But like it's one of those things that is really funny. And the one thing I'll say right now, when I look at my list, I often think that Rider has always had the better score than Sentai. However, there have been really good Sentai scores that I think are better than the various Rider scores that I listen to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do feel like my Rider outnumbers my Sentai, but yeah, I feel like the albums I own of Sentai have more of a depth. Like, like there's a more consecutive of approval and a sense of, I guess, entertainment and enjoyment value to each of these scores. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the Shinkenger albums, like almost, I would say 65% of all of the combined like 4 volumes or 5 volumes of the albums I love. Whereas like Kamen Rider, you give me the full complete set of the albums, and I maybe like only 40% of each of those albums. You see what I'm saying? Because like when I get a Sentai set, I usually will like more out like tracks on the Sentai release, where Rider it's more of I'm a little bit pickier when I get the albums, but I feel like they outnumber my Sentai. What
Yeah.
what do you say about that? Because I know you're Mr. Sentai, but when it comes to your albums, what do you have more of which? The Sentai or the Rider?
I have more of the writer only because it's easier to find. Like right now, I've just realized I did get like a bunch of Sentai stuff. I just hadn't put it in and translated it. Mostly because like I usually what I do is like I translate all the tracks for an album when I put it in. And basically the thing is, like, I did a bunch for Rider when I was super hyped for Rider, like in the old days. Now that I've become more of a Sentai fan, I've been slowly starting to build up that library more. Like right now, I'm starting to load some of these tracks, and I'm not translating the whole soundtracks because I'm probably not going to listen to them until I watch the shows. At this point, I will listen to random Rider soundtracks. I've watched more Sentai than I have Rider, absolutely. And I think that's why I probably listen to more Sentai, even though I have more Rider loaded.
Yeah, because I was gonna say this is a funny thing because like one of my favorite albums recently with like Sentai was the Koyuger album. And the funny thing about it is the guy who composed Koyuger also composed Car Ranger, and by proxy, this individual, Toshikio Sahashi, okay, Toshiko Sahashi, did Big O, Gundam Seed Destiny,
Hmm.
Saint Seiya Omega, but also did Kuga, Agito, Hibiki, and Deno, and Ultraman Mabius, which is kind of ironic because like I can see like Kuga and Agito sharing elements with each other because of them being almost spiritual successors. I can even see some of the elements of them trickling into Hibiki. But here's the funny thing: Saint Seiya Omega has quite a bit of parallels with Deno's score.
Yes,
When I
absolutely.
when I look back at my album, right, I see a shit ton of like tracks that fit like they could have been a part of the Omega soundtrack, or Omega could have been a part of the Deno soundtrack. Whereas like Kuga, Agito, and Hibiki sound like they're kind of like all meant to be one unit.
Right.
But then you have Koyuger and Car Ranger that are like huge standouts because I think this guy only did like 2 Sentais. He could have done more, but like those are the ones I wrote down. So it's like it's very interesting. Like this guy's done a lot of mecha anime. He's done like some of the core fan favorite like Kamen Riders, but then he has like 2 random Sentais and an Ultraman.
Yeah.
Do you have another person you want to talk about?
Um, let's see. Trying to get back into my iTunes library. That's how I roll.
Yeah, because like right now I've been flipping around my playlists to make sure I got like the right names, the right people. Because like I told you the one that was kind of funny was that uh Kochiro Kayayama did freaking
Kamayama.
yeah he did Ranger and Deca Ranger, which
And
like I was
Zyuohger.
wait what?
He did Zyuohger.
Yeah, oh that's even better because like that's just a little ironic though. You know what I'm saying? It's like he did 2 of the cop Sentais, like the fact that he did both cop Sentais
Yep.
is kind of ironic.
There's one composer I know you're probably gonna pull up, so I'm not gonna say him.
I have a feeling it's the one that I want to hold off on. The one that like
Uh,
got
Sir, guy did a couple dark shows in the late '80s.
by any chance, is there a K in his name?
Yes.
Does his first name start with an E?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I was saying we probably could hold off on because we
That's what I
you,
figured.
you and me and Prada can talk probably like the like another 20 minutes on him. There is one guy though that you'll probably find a little bit hilarious, and it's that Yano, the guy who composed Live Man, did
I was
Tiga.
literally about to say Tatsumi Yano because I
Yeah,
just went to man's page.
do you know that he actually scored Tiga?
Really?
Yes, he scored Ultraman Tiga. And he scored Bioman, which means he's technically scored probably by international market 2 of the best known tokus of all time, which are Tiga and Bioman in their own rights. Like Live Man is well known, but when you look at international market, Bioman hit a lot of places, and so did Tiga.
That's true.
So like 2 popular internationally known series.
Also, shout out to Live Man 30th anniversary.
Tell ya, because those mini plas that we're pissed off at.
Where's my Super Sentai Artisan Twin Brace?
Kill a bitch for it, son. Kill him.
Do it. I'll do it.
So yeah, no, talk about Yano, because like it's been a while since I've heard his music outside of Tiga.
Okay, this may just be Live Man bias, but I just really like his score he did for Live Man. It's got that 80s vibe, but like not too super heavy 80s vibe. But what I noticed in particular about his work is that unlike several composers, his music actually blends in with the insert songs. Sometimes the insert songs feel disconnected from the score, but his kind of blends in because they're all in the same kind of like late 80s style. But it really, I don't know what it was about the way he scored it, but it's always like when there's music leading into like the live Robo song, it transitions perfectly. It's not like the song's coming out of nowhere. And that's what I really love about that score.
You know what's funny? Because when you mention insert songs, Ultraman doesn't really have like insert songs. At least not when they were in the early Heisei era. Now that we're in the new generation's Hero era, there are some insert songs. But when he did Tiga, this is where you'll find it funny. Like how Ultraman tries to have like kind of quasi classical kind of like music where it has like very upbeat like I guess you would say band like kind of remedies, like it sounds like a marching band or some kind of like band music at times, or like some upbeat military music. He had this ability to do like that music like you expect to hear in like Showa era, but like kind of twist some elemental themes of like 80s and early 90s music into it so that it felt like it was like a real cross between generations, as well as because I think he, as well as like one of the music guys that already were working at Subaraya with V6, composed and wrote out how the song was going to be. He was able to make a lot of transitionary tracks that complemented when the opening theme song were going to be like reinserted into the series during the action scenes, because like there were like various versions of like V6's like Take Me Higher. Like there's a version that like actually starts out where it kind of comes off of like an instrumental version of it, and it tries to get into like that final hook into the final bridge and chorus, and it always would play that and cycle back through the song. And it was always like in those moments of like his color timer would start turning red, it starts bleeping, and all of a sudden you just start hearing it like slowly fade in and then just kick up as soon as they like get back into the fight. And I feel like that was one of the things why maybe Live Man, Tiga, and even Bioman got over, wasn't just the stories or the fact that it was first installment syndrome in certain countries, but because it had this guy who could gauge how the music fit the show as well as the current generation. Because like there are some composers where I feel like at times they're not in tune with the generational style, because
Right.
like as we were talking about with the original guy who did Dragon Ball, who also did the show music, when I look back at some of Dragon Ball, his music feels not very 80s like. It feels very 70s, even into like his earlier anime productions and roles. So I felt like he didn't really change much with the times. You know what I'm saying? Like he kind of just kept to his style, and people were like, "You do you, man," and he went with it. Where I feel like Yano was able to work with his productions, or like
Yeah,
how,
totally.
or like how mentioned earlier, Sahashi, when he did, he's done Gundam, he's done Saint Seiya, and he's done Kamen Riders, and he's done Sentai, where, like I said earlier, he I think knows how to gauge the music to fit the actual theme of the show, because I haven't seen Seed in a long while, and I don't think you've started Seed. But Product, what is it that?
Like Seed and Age are the only two I haven't seen.
All right, so Product, when it comes to like Sahashi, how can you compare his music composed in Seed to say Kuga, Agito, or Deno? Like from what you've seen, how could you compare his music compared
From the
to like
bits I've heard in Gundam Versus, I think that Kuga's a better score that fits the show better.
I don't know,
And
man.
this is just me coming from the perspective of hearing the Seed score outside of Seed, but like thinking about it in the context of Gundam, I don't know if it fits as well.
I don't know. I think because anime is easier to score than Toku. I think. Anybody agree?
It seems easier, that's for sure.
It's
I think
easier.
it seems the easiest when you look at some of these guys who have done the two. Because like when I look at what is it, the guy who did O Ranger and Metalder, when you listen to his O Ranger score, it feels very anime like. When you watch Deno and Saint Seiya Omega, the way he scored those shows, they feel like they're meant to be the same show at times. because I could give you like 2 tracks from Omega and then pair them up to Deno, and you'd be like, oh crap, I think this is the same show, but they're obviously not, you know.
I
So I
think
think
part of it may be as well, like anime has a longer production cycle than Toku does.
probably. So if you think about it, with anime, they have already time where they're working towards, they'll sometimes not even give them the full final product. They'll give them the storyboard to work off of how to score
It
their
makes it
music.
easier for them to score because they have
Yeah.
the story. to
Where
work with.
Toku, they'll be like, oh yeah, here's some unedited reels, so come up with what you need to in the course of like a week, you know?
Or it's like, here's the episode, get the score ready. A lot of TV works that way, where it's like the composer is composing week by week, which is why a lot of TV soundtracks reuse tracks a lot. You don't typically run into shows like at all where you just don't run into shows where they score every episode individually. There's been some exceptions, like Batman the Animated Series did that, and that was kind of nuts, where they were just like, yeah, where you did a full score for every single episode. That doesn't happen like at all.
That rarely
especially
happens.
in live action.
Now, before we get to the last guy, since I know even Soundout wants to talk about him, there was one I brought up though when I was doing my research, and that made Soundout laugh his ass off because there's a certain Gundam song that me, him, Metal, and our friend Kaus like to joke about, which is Beyond the Time, sung by TM Network. Yes. Dun 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 dun. I belong to you. Do 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 do. We belong to Earth. But anyways, so there's this one song that we love it.
You can change destiny, Tokiwa Niko.
But there's a reason we love it. It's from Char's Counterattack, and a lot of people love Char's Counterattack. Like, even if you're not a diehard Gundam fan, people are like, oh yeah, I love Char's Counterattack. It's just like that weird syndrome of like, people don't really watch Gundam, but like because of North America, we had Gundam Wing and Endless Waltz. It's like, oh, I love Endless Waltz and Char's Counterattack. I remember watching them on Toonami. That's one of those things, and the funny thing about it is one of their background guitarists for like when they're touring is Taka Matsumoto, and he's his own musician. He's like I think won quite a few awards on his own and with his own band. But he started out with TM Network. And the funny thing is like a lot of people shit on this one Ultraman movie, or at least what it led into with Ultraman Nexus. But like the score he does for this film is so interesting because he shifts between having like I guess you would say he like does a bit of a remix style of old school like Showa music, but like updates it with like an actual rock blend, but then also adds modern style of action tracks, suspense tracks, tracks when you're supposed to feel compassion and sorrow, and it really like adds up real nicely because there's like moments where he just recuts and reblends and tweaks the main theme of his Ultraman, and like when you hear like that guitar riff every time like it's leading into like a fight scene or his Ultraman powering up, you're just like you're amped, you get into the action. And I know people say, oh, the movie's slow, but I feel like his music will complement those moments of where you're like, oh, it's too slow. All of a sudden, like, it's gonna get ready for an action scene, and you can just sense it with the music. Like, you can sense
I think being slow was kind of the point of the movie, too.
Yeah, I think it is supposed to be, too, because it's supposed to be the lead-up into what was supposed to be, like, a trilogy of films rather than a lead-in movie, then series, then it was supposed to be, like, another film or something. Because, like, that's the thing about the Ultra N project was we never got the full expansion of it because Nexus got canceled. But with what was going on was that, like, his music, I felt, complemented what they were trying to go for, and it really stood out. And I wanted to bring it up only because when I found out about TM Network, it was kind of funny since that's a song that we always joke about off the show. So Beyond Time. And it doesn't help that, like, me and Soundout and Metal have at least watched probably Char's Counterattack at least probably once a month at least. Or at least inclined to watch it.
I always feel like watching it, and sometimes I don't always go through with it. But
I know, like, sometimes I'll turn it on, and, like, I just do the project method of I'm gonna slowly fast forward through the film. Like, oh, here's a scene I like. Okay, fast forward. Here's a scene I like. Fast forward. Slow.
Oh, it got slow. Oh, wait,
like,
I'm bored now.
Yep.
Switch.
And I just jump around. But, okay, Sound, I think it's time. I think it's time we talk about the real main
Eiichi
event.
Kawamura.
Yes, Eiji Kawamura. And if you don't know who this is, then you don't know Toku.
The Toku is not for you guys.
Like, it's pretty much saying if you don't know who Toshio Sahashi is, yeah, you're not into Toku. It's like if you don't know the man who scored Kamen Rider Black, RX, J, Zo, Die Ranger, Kaku Ranger, B-Fighter Kabuto, and did some tracks for the 90s OVA of the Bio Boosted Armor Guyver, you're like, why are you here? Why are you here? So sound
Also,
out.
shout out to the Garo composers and Jam Project.
Oh
They do
yeah.
music.
Yeah,
Not
they're
anything I'm gonna like mention specifically, but hey, it works for the show.
yeah, it works for the show. It works for the show, but so yeah, no, sound out. Bring it up. Let's talk about this Kawamura guy. Let's talk about how amazing he is.
Let's do it.
Start us off, son.
Black and RX.
Yeah. No, like about his music, his tracks, his style.
Black and RX in general.
Just Black and RX in general.
Like just everything about it.
Yeah, like the one thing I really like about it is like he has this weird sense of I guess he has a bit of classical with contemporary rock at times. Like it always feels like you don't know what's gonna happen next. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's like very rock driven. Like it almost sounds like some of the music he's doing is just freestyling. Like he's not even like expecting it to be like straight on composed. Because like there's like elements where I'm just sitting there. I'm like, is he just like messing around in his studio going, oh, this might work, recording himself, and just be like, all right, that's good, I'm gonna recreate this, see what I can add to this. Like it seems like the way he works is like magic. Like like when I hear his stuff, like especially in Black or in Die Ranger, I legitimately think he's just a magician when it comes to music, because the way the composition is, it's just so out there. It's like you don't expect it.
It's amazing.
Like it's just so hard to talk about. I'm having trouble to explain it because like the way he shifts between is really, I wouldn't say awkward, but unique, because like when I'm rewatching Black, I kind of laugh at how quite a bit of the music he wrote for Black is extremely just copied, paste, and advanced on when they did the Zo and J films. Like especially because like the outro where it's like dun 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 dun, and I'm just expecting Kamen Rider J to show up. I'm like, what? Like the fact that the J's theme song is a reuse of the outro, like, track for Black episodes. And the fact that he composed even, what is it? He was the composer for all the openings and endings for Black, RX, J, and Zo 2. Even though he didn't sing or perform them, it was like he composed them for, the singers and stuff. So it's really interesting,
Oh yeah.
Because it's just nuts. Because I'm looking at my album for Die Ranger, and I'm trying to find like Beyond Tears is probably the one soundtrack that I talk about the most with Kawamura. Like Beyond Tears is that track that, for those of you who have the Shout Factory release, or you still have the old fan subs from long ago, you're just like, when you hear Beyond Tears, like that moment of sorrow, that moment of pain, that moment of redemption that you hear often, usually, I think you hear the music played for the first time during, I think, Ko's storyline at one point, and then it's reused excessively during the Jin arcs, as well as everything towards the
Jin
finale.
arcs was just sadness the whole time.
Yeah, like when you get that, it's very impactful. I think it's one of those things that you don't expect that the episodes, I should say episode, you don't expect that this track is actually going to be called Beyond Tears. You're like thinking it's going to be like called Death of a Warrior or something. No, it's literally telling you what you're going to do. You're going to cry. You're going to feel feelings. And you're not going to want to feel those feelings, but you're going to anyways, because it wants you to.
Exactly.
And like me, I'm sitting here right now, and I'm like, I wish I had the entire Black soundtrack, because like I would be listing off a crap ton of tracks right now of what I think people need to go listen to if they're not really into music. Because if you hear certain tracks, it will make you get into music. Because the first actual writer insert song that really got me into wanting to get OSTs actually was from Ryuki, as well as from Kiva. Like I really liked the score from episode final, as well as I liked the theme that played when Emperor form showed up. And I remember back in the day, Soundout, you know what I'm talking about, is like a lot of modern Toku fans don't usually have a love for the score like you and I did. So like when I would say, "Oh yeah, I love the track Emperor form," people would say, "Oh, you love Supernova?" And I was like, "No, get that shit out of here."
No, a lot of people do follow the insert songs more than the actual score, and part of it, I think, it comes down to how stuff's released. Like we get bombarded with insert song singles a lot during a season nowadays, as opposed to actual score, and that I think may have part of the reason why newer Toku fans don't appreciate the score as much because it's not available during the hype of the show, and then it comes after, and they're not willing, they're probably not even thinking about going back and looking for the score.
Yeah, I know, which is kind of funny because like you and me are score guys. Product, you're more of what, like the insert guy, right? Like you still appreciate the scores, but you like inserts a little bit more, right?
I prefer insert songs.
Yeah. Whereas Visible Ninja is just insert songs and fuck a score. Who needs a score? And I'm sitting there like, you're the guy who loves Godzilla, and you can't appreciate an Akira Ikafube track. Like what?
He's also insane.
Well, I know he's criminally insane. Just ask, certain people in the Toku community who have, certain restraining orders on him.
Yep, me.
But yeah, no, it's very interesting because like, if there was a way to host segments of this tracks, we would so you get a feel of what we're talking about. Because when you hear these songs played during the action, it shapes the actual show in a sense. It helps
But if we
drive
play
home the
Peps,
emotion.
Toei and Avex will be on our asses before we even upload it.
Exactly. That's why you just have to deal with poor parodies of me and Sound just making weird sound effects to it.
We belong to Earth.
No, wrong franchise. Wrong franchise.
Oh. Wakasa, Tananda.
Say right franchise. Those are Metal Heroes though. Even though I don't have many Metal Hero scores or soundtracks, I think the only scores I have are B Fighter and B Fighter Kabuto. But
I
then
had
again,
Gavin, but then when I loaded it into iTunes, it told me it was corrupted.
oh yeah, that happened with the Gavin files you sent me, but the G Gavin movie worked,
Yeah,
but not the regular Gavin stuff worked. Only
yeah.
G. So it's really interesting because like I think when we look at it, you and me can both agree that probably the top dog is Kawamura, probably followed by Sahashi, and then the guy who was the Showa guy. Like they're like probably like the top.
Kikuchi.
Yeah, they're probably the top tier.
I mean, let's be honest.
Composer.
Having a run of more than 10 years of like original writer through Super 1, and including the Zacross special, that's an impressive resume. And then right after he did Dragon Ball. Like,
Because like that's the funny thing. Like when you look at like Sahashi or Nakagawa, they've had like more than one series to their name. The only other person is Shuhei Narasu, but the problem is his name. I wouldn't say his name has an asterisk towards it, but he's the co-composer on there. He was like the in-house Toei guy hired to compose with these guys. So I feel like he's just there to like shape it in Toei's image, but not actually add to the tracks himself.
yeah, he's the co-composer, just I think probably help with deadlines too.
Yeah, because like he did a lot of remixes of songs during Decade. Like there was the Shu Harase remix of like every song.
Dude,
Then there was the writer.
everything.
Then there was the
Every
writer Chips remixes, which wasn't them singing it. It was just them changing like the pitch of the actual instrumentals and then putting the audio atop of them.
They do add some stuff to that, the remixes, but it's not as what's it called as Naruse though.
Yeah, because I'm trying to look at my list of like my favorite Naruse covers, and like I think the ones that stand out.
You mean all the Deno ones?
Well, no, I was gonna say the ones that really stood out for me actually was his Agito, his I think it was his Justifies, as well as his Blade Brave. Like those really stood out as being some of his better remixes.
Okay, random thought, but the Battle Fever J soundtrack album cover is incredibly weird because it shows all the heroes at a disco. And yet at
Wait,
the same time, I
what?
feel like that sums up Battle Fever J so perfectly.
Yeah, I feel like it does too. I mean, you know, you had to be on like crack to enjoy that show. I feel like.
You had to
Hey,
be
man,
on track to make the show.
True, true.
hey, man, I
But
was
then again,
around.
I'm pretty sure people were on crack when they made freaking Five Man.
No Wheels. Well, you only think that because you modify the theme song, okay?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of coke.
I think we have to talk. We have to talk on the side because I think we have to do an intervention at Power Overcon.
I think so, and I'll bring my five changer.
Then I just throw it out the window.
I have two, so I'm good.
Throw out the male version so you're stuck with the woman version.
Hey, that one hangs around the neck pretty nice.
That's what I'll choke you with that one, and while I throw out the other one.
Soundout of the Flavor of Tokusatsu wearing oversized henshin devices on his neck.
Oh my god, yes!
Your new gimmick.
I literally think that's the only one that's worn around the neck, though.
Project, we need to get him to wear the Taja spinner around his neck.
Spinner. He starts off with the small stuff, then he'll wear a Shoto phone on his neck.
Also, Soundout, you are wrong. You are so sadly wrong. There's another henshin device worn around the neck.
VR Troopers?
Nope. Well, actually, yes, but that's Power Ranger. That's American. It's actually Ultraman Great.
How would I know that? I don't follow, weird
I don't follow
franchise
Terrible
with
Toku,
indistinguishable heroes.
I don't know. That's pretty much what Garo used to be, since they were all the same freaking type of armor, just different colors.
I mean, yeah, they all are Garo. That's, the whole point.
The whole point. It's passed down from generation to generation, Wheels. Did you get that?
No, I'm talking about even when you got, what is it, Zero and that. It's just the Garo armor in silver. It's like, what's the difference there?
Hey, they're both based on...
The horns are different. The spikes...
The weapons are different.
The weapons are different.
Oh, it's a different color scheme.
Exactly.
And then there's Kiba with his cool cape.
He gets the cape.
Kiba's also a villain, so he can go eat a dick.
Wheels, come on now. You know the whole thing about a villain. The villain is a hero of his own story. Haha, suck it.
Oh god.
Hey,
Not
he
that
had his own
bullshit.
Gaiden.
Yeah, I know. Even though the Gaiden was supposed to be actually 25 episodes originally.
Nope, they're 40-minute specials good.
Yeah, it's already too late to try to do that sequel. Everyone got older. Shit. But yeah, no, that's the one funny thing about when you look at, Toku music is just, though, it's crazy. Soundout has, a thing that will choke him with, which is his, 5-man changer. And, is there any other last-minute things you want to talk about when it comes to music?
Whoa, 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 my brother.
No,
Whoa,
no.
whoa, whoa,
Take that
my
puppet shit out of here. Take that puppet shit out of here.
And I lost track of
Product lost track of the music. He's just like, I'm just gonna play along. Just play along.
I'm gonna finish 5-man tonight again. My third run through.
I finished my first run through yesterday.
Hey, you ever realize Arthur shoots his cannon from his ass?
Yes. But it's not as bad as Colin's power boobs, so.
True. It's true.
Let's just not inform our viewers what I'm talking about, and we'll just keep moving on.
Move along. Let's move along.
But yeah, no, that's the one thing talking about music though is insert tracks really do make the show. I wouldn't say the insert songs, but the actual score, the BMGs, they're great. They're amazing. I think they add a lot to the show. I do feel like sometimes some seasons don't need as many insert songs as they ever had, which would have been Den-O and its glorious remixes.
Car Ranger.
Car Ranger probably had too many.
Car Ranger
songs
had
on there.
11 singles released with 2 tracks on each.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Cause there's one thing that I kind of get annoyed at is when you do a crap ton of insert songs on a show. Cause I'm trying to remember which other writer had that issue. Oh yeah, technically Wizard had that issue. Cause every form had a freaking theme song.
Every form had a theme song, and every character, in Den-O.
Guys, don't forget Den-O.
Den-O was worse.
No, I did say
Den-O was
that
the
with Den-O.
same
Den-O had
song,
it, yeah.
9 times.
Yeah, Den-O had that. Wizard had one for every form. Den-O had almost thing for everything.
Distinctively different songs. Den-O was the exact same song.
The remix
Yeah.
version of the same song over and over.
Now,
guys.
here's the funny thing, though. Kiva had a shit ton, but only 5 of the songs ever were used in the show.
Kuga was the same way. Kuga's albums had two solid 12-track albums of songs, of character songs, but I can't remember many of them even being used in the show at all.
Yeah, because, like, here's the funny thing. Like, I remember with Kiva, the songs that were played were, like, Innocent Trap, Shout in the Moonlight, Silent Shout, Supernova, and, like, one of Ixa's theme songs playing, but Ixa had, like, 3 insert songs, but only one of them ever played in the fucking show.
Yeah, that's fine, because I think the two of the songs, I think one of the songs was sung by him, right? The actual actor.
Yeah, I think the Ixa one, like, the one that was sung by the girls, never played in the show, and I think the one that was sung by all Ixa users only was played in one of the movies.
And then Kuga, a few of its insert songs or character songs that they didn't use actually had pieces of the score as part of the songs.
God, why do I expect, like, my favorite one, which is the instrumental of the actual theme song, is one of those character songs?
Yep. Like Edge of Green starts out with one of the score pieces first and then transitions into its own song.
Like, a part of me wants to do, like, just a sequel episode in the future where we just talk about insert songs now, because one of my favorite insert songs that everyone forgets even exists, because I think they only used, like, a small sliver of the song in the series, is actually still from Kiva, and it's Exterminate Time. Like, I love the hell out of that song, but, like, I think it was only used, like, once.
Is that for Dark Kiva, like the evil one?
Yeah, that was actually supposed to be used for Saga's father. Like, I think it played when he beat the crap out of Jiro. Like, it just plays like the instrument, like the actual, like I think it's just an instrumental of it. Because from what I heard, the song itself wasn't released until after the show aired. But like the instrumental, like the actual, just the song, like the music itself was composed, but
how
no
about
lyrics.
we do an episode about insert songs in 9 weeks?
Oh my god, I see where you're going with this. I
Let's
think.
do it.
I think is it supposed to go off the pun we're doing?
Maybe.
Okay, I'll double check. But still, yeah, no, like we could so straight up do it, an insert song episode in the future, because
That's just
I want to do it.
Don't forget what's it called? Don't forget anime, because Sawano.
Oh god. Oh, so Wano and his insert songs and scores.
He's an entire episode alone.
Sawano is like the guy you want to do a toku, but he probably never will.
He's too busy with anime.
Like, I legitimately thought he wasn't gonna do Gundam, but then he did Unicorn.
Freaking Unicorn's amazing.
Yeah, because Sawano scored it.
Exactly. Imagine Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger being Sawano.
Nah, man, I kind of want Sawano. Like, here's the thing, I feel like Sawano's music style could have complemented Build. I feel like it could have complemented Build rather than, like, if anything, it would have to be a Sentai series.
Whatever is the score for Build, because I can't hear it over the full bottles.
Right, I know, right? Like, the hell. Like, the hell is this shit?
Best
like,
match. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Rabbit. Tank.
Like, here's the thing, I'll say this right now.
So.
Because here's the thing I'll say right now that annoys the hell out of me. Is that I feel like Sawano wouldn't fit with what Lupin Ranger's theme is. Like, I feel like how Sawano's music composition is would either have to be a heavily tech-based Sentai team, or like another samurai or ninja team.
Wheelz. He should have go Kaiger theme, because he can do pirates.
Yeah, because like I feel like his music fits with like either a high-end team of like tech using Sentais, or someone that fits like the actual, I guess, like full-on style of maybe like Attack on Titan, Kill la Kill, like Sengoku Basara, like actual like fighter style, where like either they're supposed to be like samurais or ninjas.
You should have done Gaim.
Oh, dude, if he did Gaim, my god, that
Wheelz,
score would
come on,
be
go
beautiful.
Kaiger, man, go Kaiger, pirates. Come on.
I don't think he would do pirates that good. Like,
Wheelz-
what series did he do have pirates?
Well, it had a pirate like theme. Fucking what's it called, man? Remember Seven Deadly Sins? Fucking what's it called? The opening like part of the song.
I'll have to go re-listen to it, because he did do Seven Deadly Sins, but I don't really remember the score that well.
I'd play it right now, but I'm pretty sure we get taken down.
Yeah, we'd all get taken down.
Play it and edit it.
Play it and edit it.
I'm really curious now, because I can't think of it either.
Well, I mean, we can just play it after the show, and people can like just be pissed off that we didn't play it for them.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You know
So,
what? You
anyways,
can listen to the song in our non-existent Patreon.
let's start wrapping up our show for this week.
Never. I want to talk like 3 more hours about
Music.
Gucci and Kawamura and Sahaki.
I know we want to, but we can always save that for Patreon. Nevertheless, Project, tell people how they can contact you.
1-800 get the fuck out of my. I'm kidding. Project One on Twitter. Project RDM on Instagram.
Soundout.
We're gonna enact something similar to Rule 34, saying that if it exists, there's porn of it, which means if there's a social media platform, there's Soundout 12 on it, almost guaranteed.
That almost goes the same for me, except on Instagram, where I'm Tadja_Doyle, I think, on Instagram, just because some guy had the name way before I got on Instagram. Nevertheless, you can also check out Hero Club practically everywhere, because, it's Hero Club for life. And we'll see you all next week with whatever the hell we plan on doing, since, for some reason, we still haven't figured it out yet.
Hey, it's Wheelchair21, and thanks again for listening to an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. If you want to hear more content or see more content from the Hero Club YouTube channel, we're going to need you to subscribe, like, comment with some feedback, and share this channel with a friend. We also would like you to check out our website, hero-club.com, and follow us on various social media outlets just by looking up Hero Club for Life, as well as the stores you see are where we shop. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.
I don't know what we do in this podcast. Like, it's honestly a miracle we even release episodes.